Hey everybody, Dennis Prager here. I have a man that I have great admiration for, and I have been in my way. Others have done way more than me, way more than I like grammar. And he is in prison. I've been speaking to him in prison, John Mellis. He entered the Capitol on January 6th of 2021, and he has now been in prison nearly 2 years. In America, if you entered the Capitol, you are more likely to be imprisoned than if you kill somebody. It does more or less come to that. John Mellis is still in prison. John, when I don't normally say to people, how are you? Because it's just a way of saying hello. But I really am curious, how are you?
Oh, I'm okay, as good as I can be, I guess. But first, I just want to say thank you, Mr. Prager, and happy Hanukkah. It's been an honor. It's an honor to be back on your show. I really appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to bring awareness to the inhumane and unconstitutional conditions we J6ers have been suffering for almost 2 years. I'm also very grateful you have helped us raise public awareness to the circumstances surrounding the death of Rosanne Boyland at the hands of police on January 6th, and that over a dozen men, including myself, are facing serious prison time for trying to save her life. Thank you for all of that, and it really does. I can go into the conditions here at the jail for the last 2 years. I mean, I have not seen my family. There's no visitation, no video visitation allowed for us J6ers. We're all in the same pod together, so there's about 20 of us right now at this jail in the pod together. Our pod does not get visitation or video visitation. The rest of the jail does, in-person visits and video visits. We don't get any of that. We have been subjected to, occasional beatings by the correctional officers, one of which I can speak more about in a minute. It happened on Labor Day. It was one of the more recent ones. We have black mold. We deal with black mold everywhere in this place. The water is brown and yellow, whatever day, it's terrible. It's our drinking water. It smells terrible. The grievance process here is broken. There's no recourse for any of our complaints. And every time there's a judgment against this jail, whether it's in court, this jail being held in contempt for denying cancer treatment to certain inmates, or whether it's whatever it is, that they lost their federal contract. There was a SNAP inspection the U.S. Marshals did last year, and they about 200 federal inmates out of this jail before the jail was able to salvage it. Anytime there's a judgment or anything bad that happens to this jail because of us, our food is then poisoned for the next several days. Our food trays will be spiked with cleaning chemicals. I've even experienced several of the guys, including myself, have been the jail staff have attempted to frame us with threatening letters. So they're like terroristic threatening letters with white powdery substances in them sent to federal judges in our names. And I was interviewed by the U.S. Marshals about this, and they knew before I even got in the room for them to interview me about this, they already knew I was being framed. And they believed it was a correctional officer. They know it's a correctional officer because the envelopes are printed with a computer, and no inmate has access to that kind of technology. So, I mean, the list goes on. I mean, the beatings are really crazy. A few days after Joe Biden was on stage, bathed in red, flanked by 2 Marines, telling America that MAGA Republicans are the enemy of the people, just a few days later on Labor Day, Ronald McAbee, J6er in this jail, he's been moved out now because of this, he was going to get his morning meds with no mask on. And Lieutenant Lancaster sprayed him with mace 3 times. The guards slammed him on the ground and sprayed him point blank as he was being restrained. He was nonviolent. He was completely nonviolent. And they do this regularly to us. This is just one of many, many instances that this. But another side note on this is that Ronald McAbee is a former sheriff's deputy. He's a cop. and he's being held. They're trying to give him 10 years in prison because he tried to help Roseanne Boyland. He was right there with us. I mean, I could just go on and
well,
on.
let's begin with the atrocity that you have not been brought to a courtroom. You've just been languishing in a jail cell for trespassing. Did I lose John? I guess I did. Wonder if they disconnected him. Do you guys have a number to try him again? Why don't you do that? Isn't a speedy trial a constitutional right for an American? Did he hurt anybody? And when I said that you're more likely to be in prison than if you killed somebody, because people who kill people, unless it's some mass murder or some atrocity that's on video, and even then it's not guaranteed, you do get a bond. Then you come back for a trial. We have in the United States of America, for the first time in my experience, political prisoners. There's an institution called Freedom House, which lists countries by levels of freedom. I haven't looked there for many years. I don't know if they still exist, but if they do, America should not be on the free list. It should not be on the unfree list. It should be in the middle. It's called partially free. This is what the left has done to a free country. The sadism is quite remarkable. They are not allowed. They enter the Capitol. Murderers and rapists can get visits, but these people cannot get visits from relatives, friends, video calls. So, John, what happened? I guess we don't have him. You keep telling me we have him, but we don't have him. Okay, I don't know what happened, my dear friends. Maybe they disconnected his connection because he mentioned a correction off. John, what happened? I'll ask again. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what happened? Do you have any idea why we were disconnected?
I don't know. All of the phones went out for just a moment. This happened exactly. That exact thing happened last time I was being interviewed by you too. Remember?
I do.
But yes, sir. I just want to point out one small thing to your audience, that everything that I'm talking about with you today and anytime I've ever spoken to you is on my website. It is wearegoodmen.com. You can go check that website out, wearegoodmen.com. And we've got videos, evidence, we've got interviews with different J6ers, we've got written testimonials from J6ers. I mean, all of it is there.
Wearegoodmen.com. Please, folks, please. Do you get to use a computer and see who visits?
No, I don't have access to a computer. We have these tablets that we have access to, like messages, so I can message my family, kind of thing, on like a text message kind of thing. But we don't have access.
You're not allowed on the internet.
No, sir. No, sir. My girlfriend Kelly runs the website and
right. By the way, I met your girlfriend Kelly in Phoenix this past weekend when I spoke for TPUSA. And she
loves me so much.
Well, I could see why you love her. I'll tell you that. She has everything going for her, and I thank God that she is in your life. I can't tell you how happy I was to meet her. She's vivacious. She's intelligent. She's beautiful. It made my day. I want her to know this. I want you to know this. Because you deserve the best. We'll be back with John Mellis, who is in prison for no good reason. John Mellis is in prison for almost 2 years for entering the Capitol on January 6th. He's never been given a hearing. As I said, murderers and rapists are given hearings. But not only has he not been given a hearing, he has not been allowed to receive a visit from a relative or friend. He can't even do video. That's sadism. The left is despicable, as I've told you all of my life. There's a viciousness at the core of leftism that is consistent wherever the left is in power. I'm not talking about liberals. Liberals are weak, but they're not vicious. The cruelty of these people is really remarkable. I did not know you can't even get a video call from a family member. Don't you have children?
No, sir. No video visits. No visitation.
When you ask them why no video visits, what is their answer?
With these exact tablets that I just told you about, where we can message our families like a text message, in other jails, the exact same model, make, and everything does video visitation. So they have the capability to allow us to do it. They just don't, and they give us all sorts of excuses. I have to correct you on something that you said. I never went inside the Capitol building. I was on the Lower West Terrace, and I witnessed the trampling and beating to death of Rosanne Boyland at the hands of police. I tried to intervene, and I've been held without bond, not even a bond, like you said, not even a bond hearing, not even a hearing to decide whether I get a bond for almost 2 years. And I also want to just mention real quick that we spent about a year of this 2 years on solitary confinement. That is 23 hours or 22 hours at maximum in our cell every day. That was the first year we were locked up. So Jamie Raskin, Congressman Jamie Raskin, was on 60 Minutes or something the other week and said, we're not just snatching these people off the street and putting them on solitary confinement. That was a complete and utter lie. They are doing that.
Truth is not a left-wing value. I mean, it's another example.
Yes,
they march to their own moral code, which is whatever we feel is right, and we can trample on other human beings. That is every leftist thinks that way, not every liberal. I always make that distinction. But if you don't think that way, you're not a leftist. And look, Alan Dershowitz. I'm just saying this for the benefit of my listeners. So forgive me for one moment. Alan Dershowitz, lifelong liberal lawyer, voted for Hillary Clinton, voted for Joe Biden, said on my program and said to me at a public forum in Los Angeles a few months ago, he has lost every single friend. He every single friend of his life because he defended in court Donald Trump. They don't believe that people they don't agree with deserve defense. You are in that category. What can anybody do on your behalf?
If we want a public defender, I had a public defender last year. I fired him the day he told me that Rosanne Boyland got what she deserved, because all these public defenders are really crazy and they hate us. So I fired him that day, and I was able to retain a paid lawyer, but these guys cost over $100,000. So I am trying to raise money to afford my legal costs.
So how does one donate?
Yes, sir. There's two. Well, you can go to wearegoodmen.com, click the Featured Patriots button, and my Give Send Go, my picture will be there, John Mellis. Or you can go directly to it. It is justiceforj6johnny.com. That is Johnny, Jonny, justiceforj6johnny.com. I just want to point out, you said, virtue is not one of the leftist values. The prosecutors try to say that I went to J6, January 6th, to cause violence. I went there for a peaceful protest, and I can prove that through videos that are on that website, wearegoodmen.com. Rosanne Boyland was killed right in front of me, and I tried to help. An hour prior to that, I was right next to Officer Fanone when he fell into the crowd. He actually walked out into the crowd on his own accord, and everyone in the crowd, including myself, was trying to protect this man and yelling and helping and being very, very, very protective and helpful to Officer Fanone. I took video of this. I was about 10 feet away, and you can watch this on wearegoodmen.com. The footage is clear. We were all trying to protect Officer Fanone, and he has been selling books saying the otherwise. So I just want to point that out. I went there with peaceful intentions to protest peacefully. I protected and I helped many people protect an officer that day, and then an hour later, Rosanne Boyland was being trampled and beaten by police, and I tried to help her as well, along with over a dozen other men. And we have
any of your J6 colleagues, friends, have any of them had a hearing?
So they keep. Some of them have gone to trial. Some of them have had some hearings. They do these status hearings, so they just like go in and say hi to the judge, and then get scheduled again for another status hearing. Kick it down the road. There's something called a speedy trial, and they waive it. The public defenders will waive it, even when J6ers are saying, I don't want to waive it, their public defender will waive it. The prosecutors are always asking that the judge waive the speedy trial law or whatever. I guess they have to do a trial within a certain amount of days unless they waive this. Against all protestations, the judges waive these things. The prosecutors get what they want every single time. And we're just not taking it seriously.
This is all Washington, D.C. judges?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Washington, D.C. is the focal point of corruption in America, and the judges are like the judges in Stalin's Soviet Union. They serve the state. They don't serve justice.
Yes, sir. I want to point out.
It's painful to say all this. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I don't want to be treated unfairly. I want fair treatment under the law. We all watched the country burn, over 600 or 1,000 riots in the summer of 2020. But there's one in particular that I want to bring your audience's attention to. The White House was stormed by Democrats in the summer of 2020. They burned St. John's Church down that night. They injured over 100 federal officers that night, and they also forced the President of the United States, Donald Trump, into a bunker that night. And the only thing that happened the next day, nobody was hunted down, nobody was arrested, nobody paid the consequence for that because they were Democrats. All they did, the mainstream media, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they all laughed at President Trump and made fun of him for having to be evacuated to a bunker. They put his life at risk every single time, and they laughed at him.
Yeah, all right, hold on there, John. I got to take a break. I just want to remind people, look it up, how many months left-wing protesters took over the state capitol in Madison, Wisconsin. Nothing happened. John Mellis, wearegoodmen.com. Hi, everybody. I'm speaking with John Mellis, who's been in prison almost 2 years, was in solitary confinement for about half that time. He witnessed the killing of one of the demonstrators that day, tried to help her, did not even enter the Capitol, and has never had a hearing in this all of this time. Had he killed somebody in Washington, D.C., or raped somebody, he would have had a hearing. A caller in Florida wants to know why you're allowed to call me and you can't have a video call with your family. Is John there?
Hi, Mr. Prager. This is Steve from Williamsburg. John's calling through my phone. He's actually not allowed to call you directly. He has to call one of the 12 people on his call list and have one of us bridge the call into you in order to talk to you. So he's not allowed to call you directly.
Well, that answers that. All right, am I back on with John? Thank you for telling me that.
I think the phones in the correction treatment facility got cut off again. I don't know if he's going to be calling back, but if you're interested in talking to me, I've been following his.
Yes, I am interested.
Following his story ever since he was arrested.
Yeah, I am. I'm very interested because again, people should go to wearegoodmen.com. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What was the effect of all that solitary confinement on John?
Oh, he was very. It affected him tremendously. It was not this past September. The September before that, there was a rally in Washington D.C. that many on the right decried as "don't go, it's a setup." Well, I went to that rally. He had been in the solitary confinement in the jail. They call it the hole. He had been there for about 90 days, and he wrote a letter from solitary confinement.
The caller
he was
has hung
at
up.
A serious low.
He sounds better today than he has on previous calls.
Well, one thing that's very encouraging to him and all the men like him is all the awareness that people like you have brought to their cause. 2 years ago, right after they were arrested, nobody knew what had happened. Nobody was following their story, and momentum has been building. And with the Republicans getting ready to take Congress, they're actually getting cautiously optimistic that something's going to get done about this. Now, I got John calling me back on the phone right now, sir. I'm going to need about 20 seconds to bring him on the line, but he'll be right back with you, sir.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see what Republicans do. There should be hearings immediately, among other things. Every name of every judge that is denied a hearing should be publicized. We need to know who our Stalinist judges are.
Via private call.
Judges who serve the party rather than the law. Merrick Garland. Remember how he was advertised as this decent man? Well, I'll never forget, and I'll get back to John in one moment. I asked Jordan Peterson, for whom I have immense admiration. I asked him, and it was a public forum at a PragerU event a few months ago, and I said, do we ever know people, really do we know them until they're tested? And he said, no, we don't. So Merrick Garland has been tested, and he turns out to be a thug. I didn't know that. Looked like a sweet guy when he was nominated by Barack Obama. But he completely failed moral tests. So back to you. Is it John there? The line looks... Okay, there we go. Is John there? There we go. No. John?
This is Steve from Williamsburg. I've got John calling me back on the line right now. We're having some technical issues.
Yes, I understand. All right. Okay. I think I've covered what I need to cover. I want people to go to wearegoodmen.com and help out, or at least be aware of what is happening. And I'll get back to John in the near future. God bless you, John. God bless your spectacular girlfriend, whom I had the joy of meeting in Phoenix this past weekend. The pain in me is great, and I'm a very even-tempered guy. What these people have done to my country, what the left has done to this country, will go down in history. Yep. I hope the country doesn't go down in history. Hello, everybody. I'm Dennis Prager, and I welcome you back. First order of business, perhaps, for the Republican House should be hearings to expose the evil done to these January 6th defendants. No trial, no hearing, no bond, no video calls with family, solitary confinement, torture. See, I don't consider waterboarding torture. I consider it terror, but I do consider solitary confinement torture. I have periodically spoken out against it decades before January 6th was an event. It should be used in the rarest and rarest of cases of people who, if let out of a room, will pose an immediate threat of life or limb. Clearly not the case with these people. People on the left, not liberals. Liberals vote for the left. People on the left or leftists, they don't believe that normal moral rules apply to them. They don't. They believe that they are fighting for such a right cause that normal moral rules like truth-telling, like truthful voting, are not applicable to them. That's the reason they must use language like Trump is a fascist or all their opponents are white supremacists, because that then gives them permission to do anything they want. Because why would you be limited in your speech or your behavior when confronting a white supremacist? Emotionally, if not verbally, the left believes that all their opponents are Hitlers. That's their mindset. I know these people extremely well. That is their mindset. There was I wish I had it in front of me. Some big left-wing site was writing about Tim Pool, famous podcaster, and saying he had all sorts of white supremacists and racists and the like on his program, and I was one of them, and they described me as a racist, white supremacist, and I don't know what else. So each one had a link to prove their charge. So I clicked on every link. None of them even hint at my being any of those things. This is the left-wing mindset. I am not bound by normal moral rules because I am fighting Hitlers. That's why they must call, again, I'm repeating because this point is so important, they need to call their opponents fascists and Nazis and Nazi sympathizers and white supremacists, because that gives them the green light to do anything they want and feel moral about it. That is Merrick Garland's mindset. I can put John Mellis in solitary confinement. I can use the FBI to suppress dissent in this country because I am fighting Hitlers. That's how they do it. Now you know why they need to do this. I know this because my field of study was the left. When Stalin fought Trotsky, who was another communist, he was with Lenin, the founder of the Bolsheviks, the Communist Party of Russia. And he called Trotsky a fascist. Trotsky, the head of the Red Army, was a fascist. That's how it began. They're all mini Stalins. Garland and the Democratic Party in the United States and the servile press. This is all mini Stalins. That's all they are. They don't have a gulag yet. That is correct. So I'm not charging that they do. But they rationalize for their little conscience doing anything because they're fighting, as I said, fascists and Nazis. And that's it. That is the simple world of the left. That is why it was so critical to lie about the president saying Nazis were fine people. See the video up at PragerU by Steve Cortez, The Charlottesville Lie. They lie in order to justify their police state tactics. Any doctor who challenges the vaccine, according to California law coming into effect January 1, 2 weeks from now, 10 days from now, can lose his or her medical license. But as I read to you last hour, just at the last segment, I will read to you more. The Australian press reports they couldn't suppress this. She said it in Parliament. She's a former member of the Parliament of Australia, the former president of the Australian Medical Association, their AMA. And she said, I was injured, and my wife, she's a lesbian, was terribly injured by the vaccine. She was a major advocate, like the corrupt AMA in America is, of the vaccine against COVID. This is an issue that I have witnessed firsthand with my wife, who suffered a severe neurological reaction to her first Pfizer vaccine within minutes. I continue to observe the devastating effects a year and a half later, with the addition of fatigue and additional neurological symptoms, including nerve pains, altered sense of smell, visual disturbance, and musculoskeletal inflammation. Former head of the Australian Medical Association took her own injury to realize the vaccine may not be good. Hey everybody, I have, I believe, John Mellis's mother on the line, Donna Mellis. Donna, hello.
Yes, I'm here, and Happy Hanukkah, and to everybody else, Merry Christmas. I'm afraid that in a few years we're not going to be allowed to say that.
I understand your fear. Right now, we're allowed legally, but we're not allowed socially. No pilot will wish, no flight attendant will wish their passengers a Merry Christmas.
I haven't stopped saying it.
Me neither. Anyway, tell me about your son.
I'm very proud of him. I believe that God puts people in place to take care of certain things, and as bad as this is, I think God has put him there to go through this to end up doing good for other people. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble holding tears back. I haven't seen him in almost 2 years. And I'm very
because
grateful.
The Democratic Party is sadistic. Aside from corrupt,
I'm very grateful for Kelly.
They're cruel.
I'm very grateful for Kelly. He has done what I could not possibly do, and I appreciate that. Sorry. The last time I saw him, the FBI had surrounded my house at 5:30 in the morning with a tactical team. I'm handicapped, and I was in a scooter, and my husband, who has since passed away, Jonathan came in the bedroom and said, "Mom, the FBI is here," and my house was surrounded. They had shotguns with the red target pointed at us at the door, hollering at us to come out. He went out quietly, and they searched my house. I believe they were only supposed to search his room, but their excuse was they had to make sure there was nobody else in the house that could shoot them. My husband did not do well after they took Jonathan away. I watched him deteriorate every day. He would sit in his office and just cry, and I never saw him like that. And he died a couple of months later. They would not let Jonathan come home for his funeral.
Really?
We were trying
That's something. Yeah. Well, God bless you. You obviously have a lot of support, and I am among them. When you vote Democrat, this is what you get. Period.